So now we know every single new head coach for the 2026 NFL season. 10 teams got a new head coach, and I kind of just want to rank these head coaching hires based on my excitement level for them. Because it's tough to put a letter grade on how I think they will perform, because honestly, last year I wasn't too excited about Kellen Moore with the New Orleans Saints. I thought that was not maybe the best roster to inherit, and I thought he did a great job. And nobody really knows how these head coaches will perform. But if you look at just maybe the head coaches that got let go from these teams, maybe you look at ownership, did the GM change, that can maybe get me to think about how I think they will perform going forward. Do they have a franchise quarterback? Do they have a good roster? Do they have a top pick in this upcoming draft? So yeah, we're gonna rank these basically from like my least exciting one, or at least the one I'm the most pessimistic about, to the most exciting. I feel bad here for Todd Monken, but he's gonna come in at number 10 just because it's the Cleveland Browns, so there's already questions about ownership with the Haslam Group. Andrew Berry is still the main decision maker over there as well. It's not like they brought in a new top executive to work hand in hand with Todd Monken, right? Who's had a very decorated career, starting back in 1989 with Grand Valley State as a graduate assistant. He was an offensive coordinator at Georgia, Baltimore. He was the Cleveland Browns offensive coordinator back in 2019. And he pretty much had a below league offense with Tampa Bay as the offensive coordinator. He had a below league offense in Cleveland in 2019 with a young Baker Mayfield, but he had the number 1 offense with Baltimore in 2023, the number 3 offense in 2024, and the 15th ranked offense with Baltimore last year with all their injuries. It's just, like I said, he's going to the Cleveland Browns, who have gone through a lot of head coaches in the past. And if Kevin Stefanski, a 2-time Coach of the Year winner, got pushed out based off what Andrew Berry did, I'm not super confident on Todd Monken, who's going to be 60 years old this week, with Shedeur Sanders, Dylan Gabriel, and maybe a bridge quarterback this year as well. And I'm hoping the Browns offense is fun to watch next year. Maybe they end up trading back up into the first round for maybe like a Ty Simpson or a Garrett Nussmeier. Maybe they take a swing on a Kyler Murray or somebody like that this offseason. Either way, Todd Monken has a lot cut out for him. He's got to overcome that Cleveland Browns hurdle, which Kevin Stefanski did, but it didn't really end the best in Cleveland. So we'll see how Monken looks going forward. I'm just not super excited about this one, and it was just kind of an awkward situation where Jim Schwartz thought he was getting the job, and now he doesn't even want to be the defensive coordinator anymore. So coming in at number 9, I have Joe Brady of the Buffalo Bills. The 36-year-old previous Bills offensive coordinator got promoted to the head coaching job, and maybe Joe Brady was going to end up being the Raiders head coach or the Cardinals head coach this offseason if they didn't fire Sean McDermott. It just feels like a lateral move for them. Yes, Joe Brady has done a great job as the offensive coordinator, taking over the job from Ken Dorsey, who got fired in 2023. So over the last 3 years, Joe Brady has led the Bills to the 4th, 3rd, and 5th ranked offenses. Yet helps a lot when you have Josh Allen as your quarterback. And the thing is, he's still going to have Josh Allen as his quarterback next year. But it just feels like the Bills offense might not change too much either. Brandon Beane is still the top decision maker. I even think he got an extension this offseason. That Keon Coleman owner press conference was really weird as well, just basically bashing on the pick of a player still on your roster. Who does that? And obviously the Bills lost to the Broncos in some controversial fashion, and it was disappointing for them not to make it to the Super Bowl in a playoffs that didn't have Lamar Jackson or Patrick Mahomes in it. I just didn't really think Sean McDermott was fireable. I honestly thought his decision making this year was just fine, and it was great to have Joe Brady call your plays, and he's still going to call your plays as well, but now he's going to be the man in charge. And hey, maybe I'm completely wrong. Maybe this brings Buffalo over the hump at the end of the day, and this is how they can beat the Chiefs or the Ravens or the Patriots or somebody like that in the playoffs next year. But if the Bills do not take some type of leap next year anyway, and it's going to be tough with no true wide receiver 1 on the roster, does Joe Brady and Brandon Beane go out and trade for like an AJ Brown this offseason, or do they draft like a Casey Conception? Do they trade up for like a Denzel Boston in the draft or a Mekhi Lemon? All of those are definitely possibilities, but this team is still getting up there. They need to improve in the secondary and that defensive line as well, because the Bills defense last year was kind of their downfall, and Joe Brady is an offensive-minded coach. We'll see how they look going forward. It's just hard to get excited about somebody that was just on the team last year. Maybe I'm wrong. Got another first-time head coaching hire here, Mike LaFleur to the Arizona Cardinals. Now, Mike LaFleur comes from that Sean McVay tree, Kevin O'Connell, Zach Taylor, Liam Cohen, Matt LaFleur on the offensive side of the field, and then you also have Brandon Staley, who got a coach in Los Angeles with the Chargers as well. LaFleur is now the Arizona Cardinals head coach, and what I don't like, it's just tough because I'm glad they went the younger route. I'm glad they didn't end up with like maybe an Anthony Lynn, somebody on the older side, or a Ron Rivera. Imagine that happened. As LaFleur is 39 years old, he's obviously the younger brother of Matt LaFleur, the head coach in Green Bay, who also came from that Shanahan tree. And LaFleur was an offensive coordinator with the Jets in 2021 and 2022, where they had the 31st ranked offense. Then it went up to 18th in 2022. Then he gets the Rams offensive coordinator job for the last 3 years, basically ranked 11th in scoring, 17th in scoring, and 2nd in scoring last year. Now he's going to have a downgrade in terms of his roster, going from Matthew Stafford to Kyler Murray. And that's also another thing I'm a little bit skeptical. If there was maybe a Dante Moore pick here or somebody to get excited about in the draft, I think I would like this a little bit more. But is this just going to be a bridge year with Kyler Murray? How is that connection going to go? Maybe LaFleur can turn around Kyler's career like Mike McDaniel did with Tua a couple years ago. That could definitely be on the table. And I'm wrong about this one. I was surprised that the defensive coordinator in Los Angeles, Chris Shula, didn't get hired, or Nathan Shieldhouse, the passing game coordinator as well. And it ended up being Mike LaFleur. So I'm a little skeptical about this one. I think it's also because Monty Ossenfort is still there. And the reason why these coaches that got fired, like Kevin Stefanski, Sean McDermott, and Jonathan Gannon, like they got let go because of what the front office did, or at least failed to do to give them a competitive roster on the field. And that's why I don't like these head coaching hires too much, just because Brandon Beane, Andrew Berry, and Monty Ossenfort are all still there as well. And I just wonder how this connection is going to go moving forward. And coming in at number 6, I have Mike McCarthy here of the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, I was really excited as a Steelers fan when Mike Tomlin decided to step down. Not because I didn't appreciate what Mike Tomlin did for basically the last 20 years. It's just they needed a change, right? It's a completely different NFL now from when he took over the Steelers job back in the late 2000s. And this team has been getting to the playoffs barely every year and then basically getting blown out during the wild card weekend. So it was time for a change. And I was really excited about the idea of maybe a Jesse Minter, a Chris Shula, a Nathan Shieldhouse, get somebody under the age of 40, maybe Jeff Hafley as well, that can actually be here for the next 20 years. But they went the opposite route. They went with an older head coach in Mike McCarthy, who's from Pittsburgh. Yeah, he worked with Omar Khan in New Orleans back in 2000, who's the main decision maker in the Steelers front office. McCarthy is 62 years old. Now, what I like a little bit more about McCarthy than some of the other guys as well is because of the history. He's obviously won a Super Bowl with the Green Bay Packers, and he had a very successful tenure, I would say, with the Dallas Cowboys. 3 straight 12-5 seasons from 2021 to 2023. They go 7-10 in 2024. He gets let go. Obviously, he takes a year off from coaching, and Mike McCarthy has done a good job with his quarterbacks in his career. Now, he was gifted Aaron Rodgers, but you could say he had a hand in maybe the development somewhat. He took over the team back in 2006. He did a great job with Dak Prescott as well. And McCarthy's been around for a while, right? Like he's been at the University of Pittsburgh. He was with the Kansas City Chiefs. He was with the Saints. He was with the 49ers. He's been around. He has an experience. Now, it gives me a little bit of hope. Maybe this is delusion. Maybe this is hope for me as a Steelers fan that he can develop Will Howard or any rookie quarterback or maybe any young quarterback they take with a swing on in the offseason. And that's what the Steelers have been looking for. Ever since Ben Roethlisberger had his elbow surgery back in 2019, they haven't really had a good quarterback. They haven't really had a good quarterback play season, right? Like Fields, whatever, Russell Wilson, fine, but there's a limited ceiling on those guys. They need to find their franchise quarterback. And if the Steelers believe that McCarthy will be the guy for the job, then I'm fine with it at the end of the day. It's a big risk, but he is 62 years old. Hey, Sean Payton was on the older side as well when he went to the Denver Broncos, and they were just in the AFC Championship game. 62 is not like crazy old. It's not like he's Pete Carroll in his 70s. And I'm intrigued about Patrick Graham, who's going to be their defensive coordinator. I don't think Terrell Austin did a great job last year. I'm glad Arthur Smith, the offensive coordinator, is no longer there as well. So yeah, I'm not like super high on this head coaching hire. I was a little bit disappointed when I got this notification that he was going to be the next Steelers head coach. I've come around on a little bit. I just want the Steelers to go like 3-14 next year, draft a quarterback in the 2027 draft. Because if McCarthy just makes you go 10-7 every year, or maybe 9-8, 11-6, it's just right back at square one. We're just right back where we were with Mike Tomlin. I think we got to take one step back to take 2 steps forward. Coming in at number 5, I have Kevin Stefanski, the new Atlanta Falcons head coach. They get a 2-time Coach of the Year winner in Cleveland. He was the offensive coordinator with Minnesota in 2019, led Kirk Cousins and that team to the 7th ranked offense. And then in Cleveland, I thought he did a great job. Obviously, the last 2 years were a disaster. You know why? Because they traded everything for Deshaun Watson. Obviously, in hindsight, you keep Baker Mayfield. His most successful year was with like Joe Flacco as his quarterback and not Deshaun Watson, who you traded multiple first-round picks for. You gave him the most guaranteed money out of any quarterback contract in NFL history, and he already had the off-the-field concerns, and he was never the same player. Tore his ACL, tore his Achilles. An absolute disaster, right? Andrew Berry is still there. I don't really trust the Haslam ownership group. You can even see what they're doing with the Milwaukee Bucks in the NBA. Kind of a disaster over there as well. And I think Stefanski was dealt a bad hand, right? He had to deal with the carousel this year, at least the drama with Shedeur Sanders and Dylan Gabriel and Joe Flacco. Earlier in the year, they had Kenny Pickett on their roster going into training camp. And hey, he was the longest Cleveland Browns head coach for a while. 2020 to 2025 feels like 30 years as the Browns head coach, to be honest with you. And he's going to have some true playmakers with the Atlanta Falcons. I'm glad he's going to be the offensive mind over there. They fired Terry Fontenot, which I don't know if really was the greatest decision in the world, but they go with Ian Cunningham, who's done a great job in Chicago. And they also bring in Matt Ryan as well. Not sure how much say he's going to have, but apparently he is like the top guy, and Ian Cunningham is going to be reporting to Matt Ryan. I think this is going to be a step up. I have no idea how the quarterback play is going to look next year. So you are reuniting Kevin Stefanski with Kirk Cousins, which I actually think could be serviceable next year. And maybe Stefanski can fix Michael Penix, but you got to worry about the injury concerns. Stefanski's still just 43 years old. He's still pretty young out there. He's going to have Bijan Robinson, Drake London. The defense has definitely improved over the last year as well. I think the Falcons could still win the division next year. We just got to figure out how the quarterback play is going to look. And I'm glad it's Ian Cunningham and, hey, Matt Ryan in the front office as well. I just don't like when a head coach really gets fired and the GM stays, because the GM picked the head coach and probably gave the coach a bad roster. I think I said my numbers off for Mike McCarthy and Kevin Stefanski, because coming in here at number 5, I do have Robert Saleh. Yeah, I'm a little bit higher on the head coaching hire of Robert Saleh than some others. He's 47 years old. I think I just absolutely love that he brought in Brian Daboll as their offensive coordinator, who did a great job with Josh Allen. Obviously in Buffalo, that's where he got his recognition to be the next Giants head coach. He did fine enough with Daniel Jones. Obviously, they overachieved a little bit that year, and this could also come back more on Joe Schoen and not Brian Daboll, who didn't have great late game decision making, but now he's going to be the offensive coordinator for Cam Ward going forward. He did great with Jackson Dart last year. I'm high on Cam Ward going forward. I love this connection. Saleh actually got a lot out of the Jets in 2022 and in 2023 with Zach Wilson as their quarterback. It sucks that Aaron Rodgers tore his Achilles in 2023, and we only got to see basically one drive with him. But I thought Saleh, honestly, in the New York pressured market, overachieved with those rosters and really had a good defensive team most years, given kind of the talent out there. And that maybe comes back on Joe Douglas in New York as well. He's got a really good track record. Obviously came up in the late 2000s and really made a name for himself as the defensive coordinator for the 49ers from 2017 to 2020. They're going to have a lot of cap space this offseason as well. They have the 4th overall pick in the NFL draft. So Robert Saleh is going to be able to draft a David Bailey, an Arvell Reese, or a Ruben Bain to his defense if they end up going that route as well. Maybe they sign somebody in free agency. I'm higher on the Titans next year, and I'm glad they at least took somebody like Robert Saleh, who can be that culture changer in Tennessee, something they've been lacking since they, for some reason, fired Mike Vrabel. So coming in at number 4, I have Clint Kubiak, who's not technically the Raiders head coach yet, because they're not allowed to announce that until after the Super Bowl, since he's the offensive coordinator for the Seattle Seahawks. But this could be the Ben Johnson hire from last year's cycle, as Tom Brady had a big say in bringing on Clint Kubiak, who's done a phenomenal job this year with Sam Darnold as his quarterback. He was the offensive coordinator for the Saints in 2024, where they didn't really have a good roster. They looked fun at the start of the year as well. He comes from the Shanahan coaching tree. He was their passing game coordinator back in 2023. He's obviously the son of Gary Kubiak. And Seattle had the #1 ranked offense in terms of points scored this year. So he gets the job, and he's probably going to be coaching Fernando Mendoza, which gets me excited. They kind of did a 180. Last year, they go for Pete Carroll, the older guy. They get the 38-year-old Clint Kubiak. I'm really excited about his schemes and his game plans for Brock Bowers, probably Fernando Mendoza, and Ashton Jeanty. Oh my God. What we saw, like Kenneth Walker split carries with Zach Charbonnet. Just imagine what he could do with Ashton Jeanty in Las Vegas. I'm really excited about this hire. Like I said, I think this could be the Ben Johnson of last year's cycle as well. So I might be higher on this one than some other people. So coming in at number 3, I got Jeff Hafley. Yeah, I'm excited about this one in Miami as well. Also because they're bringing over John Eric Sullivan from Green Bay, and it's a new GM and a new head coach. And I think they're going to be on the same page. Both of them are coming from the Green Bay Packers as well. Jeff Hafley is also 46 years old. They had the 5th ranked defense as the Packers defensive coordinator in 2024. That did drop a little bit to 13th this year. People will point to his head coaching record at Boston College, and it wasn't great, but hey, it's a different beast here in the NFL, and I think he's done a good job in Green Bay over the last few years. He's going to work hand in hand with his top executive. Tua's most likely not going to be there anymore. So I do wonder who the next quarterback of the Miami Dolphins is going to be. I doubt they're going to take one in the first round, so maybe they end up with somebody else. They brought in Bobby Slowick as the offensive coordinator, who had a really good rookie season with CJ Stroud, and they kind of pushed him out and used him as the scapegoat for CJ Stroud struggling in year number 2. Maybe that was more on Stroud than it was on Bobby Slowick. So I do think this is going to be a breath of fresh air in Miami. They need to add a lot of corners this offseason. Maybe they take somebody defensively in the first round. Maybe it's a Colton Hood. Maybe it's a Jamad McCoy, Avion Terrell, Mansour Delane, who's ever available. Caleb Downs would obviously be sick as well. And I'm excited about this one in Miami. So coming in at number 2, I have John Harbaugh of the New York Giants. Now, John Harbaugh is one of the older coaches that we're going to talk about. He is 63 years old, obviously the longtime Baltimore Ravens head coach from 2008 to 2025. He won a Super Bowl with them in 2012. But I think this is exactly what the Giants needed. This is basically their Tom Coughlin 2 decades later. I don't love that Joe Schoen is there, but honestly, from what I've been reading, John Harbaugh is going to be calling the shots, and Joe Schoen is really not going to be doing the final decision making there. Harbaugh inherits a good young quarterback in Jackson Dart, a good young running back in Cam Scatterbo, and a good young receiver in Malik Neighbors. They have some cap space this offseason. They have a great defensive line and front seven. We were talking about Brian Burns, Dexter Lawrence, Abdul Carter in year number 2. It's hard not to get excited about that core. They have Drew Phillips in the secondary, Paulson Adebo, Javon Holland. They probably need one more corner as well, but hopefully this different way of thinking and getting that culture changer in New York is exactly what they needed. They need somebody to be a floor raiser, and I think John Harbaugh is going to be that guy, even if he's only here for 5 years, but I do think he's going to turn the Giants into a playoff contender, something they haven't really been since like the early 2010s. But coming in at number 1, I got Jesse Minter, the coach replacing John Harbaugh in Baltimore. It's hard not to get excited about this one either. Jesse Minter is 42 years old. He was a defensive coordinator under Jim Harbaugh at Michigan, and then he ends up being the Los Angeles Chargers defensive coordinator for the last 2 years under Jim Harbaugh as well, and now he's the Baltimore Ravens head coach. The Chargers had the 8th ranked defense in 2024 and the 14th ranked defense in 2025, but it does feel like he overachieved over there as well, and now he's going to be able to coach Lamar Jackson. Yeah, arguably the best quarterback in the league, or at least the top 5 quarterback in the league at the absolute minimum. Hopefully a healthier Lamar Jackson next year. They bring over Declan Doyle, who's 29 years old. The former Bears offensive coordinator is now going to be calling the plays because Ben Johnson was calling the plays in Chicago. So this is technically a promotion to call the plays for a 2-time MVP winner in Lamar Jackson. Derrick Henry is the running back. Hopefully they bring back Tyler Linderbaum this offseason. They do have some decision making to do, maybe on that front 7. It's getting a little bit older. And then in the secondary, are they going to let go or trade away Marlon Humphrey? But Minter gets Kyle Hamilton at his disposal as well. And I think this is just the breath of fresh air and the change of pace that the Baltimore Ravens need. And this is definitely my favorite head coaching hire of this year's cycle. So that is going to be for me. I hope you guys did enjoy. It's crazy. We had 10 new head coaches this offseason. If you guys want me to maybe do a deep dive of like ranking the offensive coordinator hires or defensive coordinator hires, let me know by dropping a thumbs up. And let me know what you agree with, or maybe your top 5 head coaching hires from this cycle as well. There are plenty of teams that could be looking for a head coach next year as well. The Philadelphia Eagles, it feels like Nick Sirianni is on the hot seat. Obviously, Aaron Glenn. Could Dan Quinn be on the hot seat this year? People want to talk about Zach Taylor and Kevin O'Connell and maybe Shane Steichen in Indianapolis, Todd Bowles in Tampa Bay. So yeah, we're definitely going to keep an eye on this cycle next year as well. Drop a thumbs up if you guys did enjoy. Subscribe for more content like this. Catch you all on the next one. Peace.